You guys, get in the bedroom, go to sleep. Now, charge your phones. It's 10 o'clock. It is a meeting. Hurry up, please. I'm in a meeting right now. What? Do whatever you want. Don't bug me. I have a meeting right now.
Max, nice to have you here as well. How are you doing, Max?
Okay, me. Testing.
Can you well? How are you?
Thank God. How are you doing?
Well, amazing, amazing. Actually, I forgot about this presentation, and you got me to remind. I was like, damn, actually, I got to hop to the call. So
Yeah, I make sure to send messages just in case, it slips somebody's mind.
perfect, perfect. We have a lot of people joining, so that's great. So yeah, I would say we're gonna wait a couple of minutes, and then we're gonna be able to start this off. Really, the
Great
main
stuff.
thing I want to speak to you guys all about is about sales, because that's what I've been seeing most people struggling with. Is like there's so many people telling you how to build AI, but who actually tells you how to sell it, right? Because that's where the money lies. Not how to build it, it's how to sell it. So to give some of you guys who have been here background, I was also one of the team who have been able to win the school games last month with our community. So we're doing a bunch of sales. So yeah, that's why I would say we're gonna enjoy the next couple of minutes together, like probably about an hour, and then of course I would say at the end we're gonna do Q&A, so then you can guys ask your questions, and yeah, if you want to know more personally about me, then you can always. In the meantime, also check out what I do on LinkedIn, like who I am, and pretty much, yeah. Max, do you have anything you wanna start with? Say, ask.
Thank you for speaking and presenting. We appreciate that. Thanks for the community, Jack's community, for supporting this. That's about it.
Beautiful, beautiful. So here's a little LinkedIn. You can check guys out if you want to know more about me, so I don't have to do backstory for 20 minutes. So the most important thing I want to speak to you guys today about is how to sell AI. Now, here's the thing I will tell you about agencies and most businesses that do service-based businesses, so agencies and all kind of service-based businesses, right? There have been all kinds of trends going on, from social media management, so SMMA, to then lead gen agency, then to AAA agencies. There have been everything around that type, and like all kinds of offers. And honestly, there have always been the same issues, right? So never has a trend helped the people who were not successful in the trend before, right? And the primary reason for that is just because the people are not capable of selling. So what do I mean by that? Right? So that means the skill set that are required to sell someone, most of the people just don't possess those. And I'm going to be honest, sales is hard as a skill, right? So today I want to give you some kinds of rules and guidelines so you guys can go out there and actually sell your solution, AI solution, and also some kind of things to be careful of to do and sell AI. So going into the first thing, you guys have to understand you're in a mass competitive market, right? I think I was seeing this today that by 2030, the AI industry is going to be a $700 billion worth industry. So that also means that you're not the only one. I'm not the only one. And any other service-based businesses has competition all over the place. So to give you a bit of a reference to the last trend, which was lead generation, most people there had exactly the same offers. And now what is the problem with having the same offers? We always think we're the only one, right? But maybe some of you target the exact same industry. So you hop on a sales call for a person to present the new AI solution and you think it's also great. Well, unfortunately, you're most likely not the first one. And to give you my personal feedback, like experience on that, I, for example, spoken and worked with a lot of real estate agents, and one was impressive. He has been scammed and lost over $250,000 on agencies in 10 years, right? So there's always have been an issue with agencies' reputation. And now a thing which comes now to it is AI. So there are a few things I want to notice on that, which is first, a big issue about AI is education. Most people don't understand AI, right? And you guys get courses by Jack and all of that provided about how to learn how to learn AI. Now you have to understand that most average business owners, like local businesses, right, they have all things to do, right? I was speaking to a company, actually one of my students was speaking to a company, that guy didn't even use a CRM, right? He was using paper to do his client management. He was like, what the hell is going on there? Right? And now you think, well, here's AI. And like, what is AI? Right now, here's a very important thing about sales. You don't want to spend 2 hours explaining them AI. Well, because by doing that, you're gonna lose the client because they're gonna have to hop off, right? So, important thing is you might need to keep it simple. When you offer something to someone, and Alex Hormozy likes to refer this as having text that every third grade student could understand and read. And it's so primarily important because you have to understand that not everyone has the same amount of knowledge regarding AI that you have, right? For example, some people don't even know what a chatbot is, right? Like, what's the purpose of a chatbot, right? So that's a very big issue. I like to put notes in on the main conversation, which is, please, if you guys want to turn on your camera, it would be highly appreciated so we can actually have a more human conversation. So the thing about education is that most people try to go and explain it, right? And that's very wrongly. And in terms of, well, it works with an SLS configuration, and then you got to do this, and then we use make.com. Nobody knows outside of the AI what make.com is, right? So very important here is that you want to do it relatable to them. So a very, very good way to explain things to people is by using analogies. Look, for example, if you build out a voice AI agent for a restaurant, or for example, for a doctor, right? Basically, what we're going to help you, we're going to give you a digital or virtual front desk, which is basically going to call up all the leads and going to make sure all of the clients are served so you can focus on just taking care of the patients. It's the same thing as if you would say, well, we're going to use 7 labs, then we're going to use make.com, then we're going to use VAPI and all of those stuff, and basically we're going to build you the as fucking complicated stuff. And at the end, basically it's just going to do the inbound calls, right? So you want to make it as easy for them to understand what you sell. And when speaking about education, the biggest issue is it's very splitted. You guys are all AI enthusiastic. If not, you would not be in Jack's community. Now, something you have to know and be aware of, not everyone is pro AI. There's a lot of people rejecting AI and the idea of having an artificial intelligence which can be smarter than a human being. So what basically I'm saying? What I'm saying is that a lot of people don't know what AI does, and because of that, are scared of what AI can do. So what I mean educating the people, you have to build trust in a sense of safety for when we explain it. That's why an analogy, you would not say, well, you're going to have an Indian front desk caller center, which is going to mass call everyone that you know, right? No, you're going to say you're going to have a nice lady at the front desk who's going to address everyone super friendly, right? Because, and here's where the biggest issue comes into place, that because the people have fears around AI, firstly, that it can mess up things, right? That is not reliable, because like, well, a human can sometimes fail, but AI can too, if it's not done properly, right? So that is very, very important when you sell AI. Now, all of you, to give you a quick reminder, you probably all spend hours, and I have some of my students in my community as well, spending hours and hours building AI solutions, and it's also great, right? Sometimes it doesn't work as well as they all want to, right? But that's the fun with trying to build AI solutions. Now, for example, an example, a girl called Ella had an issue, is, well, nobody actually buys her product. So you have spent months and months building that product, but nobody actually goes and buys it. So the most important thing is how you present an offer to a specific person, right? For example, if I would say, well, I'm going to teach you the 3 ways of objection handling a client, if all of you don't have sales calls yet, well, that would be useless to you. If I tell you guys I'm going to help you how to book appointments for your AI solution, and that's what you're struggling with, then I would help you. So to recap it, you want to help a company solve the pain points that they have. Now, there's something you need to understand. You assume what pain points do they have. Well, unfortunately, sometimes you can be wrong. So the best way is to ask the people what kind of pain points they actually have. So what do I mean by that? you want to have an offer, and here's the most important thing about sales. If you want to become very good at sales, the easiest and best thing to do is just have a very good offer. So what I mean by that is if people genuinely want your solution and they think it's something special and I can actually help them, you're going to have way easier sell, right? Now, as we come back to AI, a lot of concurrents offering exactly the same thing. Like I have honestly noticed so many people offering AI bots and voice agents is crazy, right? For example, back then, if some of you have been in the agency game longer or in the service-based business, before that, everyone offered paid ads, like paid advertising through Meta, Google, and all of that stuff. And the funny thing about it is at the end, when I ask people, well, what do you do? That I help roofers with paid ads. I'm like, congratulations, you're one in 300,000 agencies in the United States who does exactly that. So the specificity which you have when you reach out to people is very important, right? Now, this is about getting clients in the first place. So what I mean by getting sales calls in the first place. Here's the thing. Maybe, and that would be interesting to know, please put a 1 and 2 in the chat. 1, you don't have appointments yet. 2, you already have appointments and you're struggling to get sales, because then I know what is the most, what direction it should take this for this call. So please say 1, are you struggling to first get appointments or you're struggling to get sales? So you have appointments, but you're struggling to get sales. Okay, we have a lot of 1 in here. Beautiful. Beautiful. And some 2s. Please, I want, so we can have as much of a shared opinion about it. Okay, cool. Now, to give you a little bit of reference why I can be a person who you could potentially listen to, and please take my advice with precaution and actually make your own research, use your own brain. But myself, we've been able to book over 260 appointments in December, and we have booked over 1,200 in the last 12 months. So just to give you a little bit of reference, what my average calendar looks like, I'm just quickly going to share my screen. That was also part of the end of the school games. This was my calendar in terms of more sales calls. So yeah, a little bit of sales calls throughout all day. Now, here's the important thing, which if you're struggling to get sales calls, really the most important thing you have to understand is like people fuck up before, right? When you think it's the messaging that sucks, it's actually not the messaging. It's the things before that. Right? And that, honestly, sales is more a process than it is a certain thing. Because you have to understand, and this is actually going to be maybe interesting to some of you who already have sales calls. You always think that when you pitch the program, when you pitch the AI, that's when the people actually decide to buy. Actually, funnily not. The sell is done in the discovery phase. So for the people who don't know what a discovery phase is when you actually get to know the person. So you ask her questions. That's when the prospects decide whether or not they think you're good enough to actually, for whatever you're going to sell next, is going to be good or not. So this is just to give you an example that sales is not just, well, this is this pitch. It's way more of a thing. So questions, we're going to do that at the end, so please keep that for the end so I don't lose track. Thank you. So speaking about how to get appointments in the first place, all of you have to be careful about one thing. So before I go into that, guys and ladies, the most important thing in business is making money. If you're not actively making money in your business, you're literally losing time, losing energy, wasting prospects' time and everyone else's time, right? And you're not making progress. And because the entire goal of Jake's community and all of the other coaches that are out there is to help you get to there. Now, here's the thing. You're going to be able to build so crazy AI solutions when you have a development team behind your ass who's actually going to help you build out all of these automations. Well, for that, you need money. So how do you get money? Right? For you to get money, well, the first thing you need to do is you need to get people to know that you exist. Because guys and ladies, this is the primary biggest issue. It's like not enough people know that what you do and that you exist. Right? There may be a few hundred, right? And then you have big people like Iman Ghazi and all kinds of different people who have millions of followings, and then you wonder why they make millions. Well, it's just because they have millions of following. So how do you get actually eyeballs that you can then turn into money? Because that's the whole process, getting a stranger to pay you. Well, first, you need to get their attention. You need to grab their interest. So this can be done with outreach, this can be done with inbound, like social media posting, this could be done with paid ads. Now, for you have to understand is for you to get appointments, you need to have something they want. What is it that a dentist wants? What is it that a real estate agent wants? What is it that the coach or consultant want? And you have to fix their primary needs for them to be willing to spend time on a call with you. And if you're not having sales calls, the primary thing you should fix is to get people to give you their time. Because we always think about money, but time is a very, very important resource and most people lack off every single day. So the first thing you need to sell before selling your AI solution is to sell your meeting. Well, how do you sell your meeting? It's by having enough offer, which is literally getting the interest. And to give you an example about that, in December, we spent about $400 to $500 a day on ads. We ran 3 different offers. Just to give you an example, the first offer was helping to get people to 10K guaranteed. That got crazy good results. Now, the people were super unqualified. Well, then we changed it to a 10K challenge. So we helped the people hit 10K without guaranteeing 10K. Our ads cost per results 4x, just by a single word. And then we decide, well, cut the offer, let's make a complete new offer. Help agency owners get their first 3 paying clients in 30 days. And because that wasn't actually an offer for that specific industry, in specific segment of the industry. You guys tend to forget that an industry is pretty wide and there are segments in an industry, so you want to be as specific as possible. As soon as we had that specific target audience, and we're like, well, this is exactly what they want and what they struggle with, bam, we were able to get sales calls like this, incoming leads like this. So if you're struggling to get sales calls in the first place, it's just because, well, if you help businesses with AI solutions, everyone does that, right? Everyone, I like to say, I help businesses make more business. Congratulations, that's every B2B company out there in the world. And a nice quote, which I like to refer from Iman Ghazi, which is, if you try to appeal to all, you appeal to none. So here's the first actionable thing I want you guys to do, and ladies, which is I want you to look at who you actually target. So who do you want to work with? I say roofers. And I want you to look more into what it is actually to be a roofer. And you want to take a segment of that. For example, there are different sizes of roofing companies. What size of a business do you want to work with? What income level do you want to work with? Did you know that 90% of real estate agents make only 10% of the total amount of sales? So that means 10% of the real estate agents make 90% of all sales. So you want to really, the first thing you want to do is you want to go into your niche, right, who you target, and you want to look, okay, what exactly is that person? What exactly do they do? What segments are they? So 2 categories, the most important categories is what are different categories, so segments in terms of revenue. For example, I was doing this with a client. We figured out that residential electricians, most of the companies, I don't know exact percentage, did less than $250,000 per month. 25% did between $250,000 and $1 million a year, so annually. And then there was last 10% or something, which did $1 million plus. So we're like, who do you want to work with? Do you want to work with the broke people? Because then we figured out, oh, the profit margins are 10%. We're like, or do you want to work with those 25% who actually have the money? And what is their goal? Guess what? To get to $1 million annually. So if you then go in hell, I will help you electricians go from $250,000 a month, somewhere in between, to $1 million annually in the next 12 months. This is what exactly they need. So the first thing you want to be is very specific on who you work with. So you want to segment the industry. Second thing you want to do is you actually, if possible, want to go speak to someone in that industry. Or if you cannot do that, call them, send them emails, ask them for an interview. You want to get to know the people. And then from that, you want to create an offer. What are the pain points and what are they looking to achieve? Can I help them achieve that? Okay, now you have an offer in place. I will help this company solve this problem. How do you sell it? So there's multiple ways of selling, and it depends also on the pricing structures you have. So I would like to say everything up to 2K or 3K per month or upfront can be sold on a one-call close. So what is a one-call close? A one-call close is basically call them, you email them, whatever, you get them on a call, and on that call you sell them straight. And then you have from 3K upwards, so 3 to 5 to 10K, you want to do it at least in a two-call close, right? Because less companies are willing to give you $10,000 after having spoken to you for 45 minutes. Right? Everything below that for most B2B companies is a reasonable investment, which can be done more on the spot, right? But also that depends on the level of sales. So what is the benefit of a one-call close? The biggest benefit of it is that you don't forget who the prospect is. Like, what exactly do you mean? I will tell you, when you have 10 sales calls a day, and in between that, you have 10 other people you spoke to, you have no clue of what the person did or doesn't do. So really what it helps is when you're in the beginning of the call, you figure out more about the business, their numbers, their pain, you can reutilize that to actually close them. So in the pitch, hey, look, you told me you're struggling to get to $1 million a year because of you lacking more ways of client acquisition. Look, this is exactly the thing you need. This is exactly going to fix your problem. Right? So that's a big benefit of the first call close. Now, in both cases, here's how you structure a sales call. The first and the most important thing, and it was the actor, so the actual person that played, not Leonardo DiCaprio, but played the Wolf of Wall Street. For one of you who love sales, the Wolf of Wall Street, very good movie to watch. The actual person who that story basically came from, he has something called the straight line system. And he says the first 4 seconds of the call are the most important one. Now, I like to make it a little bit longer. And here's the first important thing, which is the frame, the beginning of the call. The beginning of the call will tell more than anything else. When I review a sales call, I will look at the first 15 minutes on the sales call. I will tell you whether it's a close or not. Guaranteed. So the first thing you do is a very small introduction. Hey Max, how are you doing? You're doing amazing. Well, me as well. Where are you from? Right? If you don't know where they're coming from, if you do international business. Or, yeah, John Belfort. There you go. Thank you. Paul. Exactly. The important thing with that is you want to keep it short, right? Some people call it report. Right? Report, in my eyes, is built during the entire discovery phase. Right? Please don't ask someone how's the weather, right? Of course, if you speak to someone in California, you can say, hey, hope you're doing well, like with all of this fire, how's it been affecting you? I hope you're doing well. Well, then it's more really trying to build a relationship more than you like, how's the weather in California? Well, it's very hot. So once you have just done a 2-question introduction, you want to go into the most important thing of the sales call, which is the frame. Hey, look, Paul, the way I like to structure my calls is just I'm going to ask you a few questions to get to know you a bit better, and then I will tell you exactly if and how I can help you, because I just respect your time and mine as well. So if I cannot help you, I will let you know. If I can, I will show you exactly how. Does that work? Cool. So to recap it, you just want to say, hey, cool, Paul, I respect your time. I respect my time. I don't want to waste any of our time. The way I like to structure my calls, so you put the frame on you. What is frame? I will explain in a sec. I will explain to you how I like to structure my calls, right? And Then what you say is like, look, I'm going to ask you a few questions to get to know you better. And then I will tell you if I can help you and how I can help you. Does that seem cool? And then you get the agreement, right? And this is the most important thing, because you have to understand they will be pitched a million times. And if you don't get the authority, and why do you set frame? Frame is you just building authority over them. So I'm the boss. It's my call. I'm going to ask you questions. Follow me. And here's the thing. The person who asks the questions on the call is leading the call. So that's why from the beginning, thanks Paul, from the beginning, you want to establish that authority. So I'm going to ask you for questions, and then I will see whether or not I can help you. And if I think so, I will show you exactly how, and you tell me if it's great. Sounds cool? Perfect. Now, that being established, and guys and ladies, I want you to do that every single call. There's no exception. Don't go around it. I do it still after 1,200 sales calls. Right? Every single time you establish frame, right, which is authority. Now then you can move on into a very comfortable discovery phase. And if there's 2 phrases, 2 quotes, I want you to recap from that entire call. Alright guys, I try to give you as much value as possible, so I hope you enjoy it. The most 2 important quotes I will ever give you, and you can get from anyone in sales. First, sales is a conversation. Don't try to sell someone. Have a conversation with that person. Because if you try to sell someone, someone's going to notice that you're trying to sell them, so you're going to sound needy, and you're going to do a bunch of mistakes. And the second most important thing, and this is really the most important quote I love, it's my main one. People buy from people they trust. People buy from people they trust. So the entire goal of the next 15 minutes of the sales call, so usually discovery phase is between 10 and 15 minutes, is to establish their trust. Actually, throughout the entire call, right? Throughout the entire call, the main thing is to establish trust. Because maybe they've seen your content before, maybe they don't know anything about you because you called them. You want to establish trust. Paul, you're an amazing dude. So, coming to discovery phase. Discovery phase. What is a discovery phase? Well, a discovery phase is actually a pretty simple thing. It's just you to get to know the company, the person. Now, there are 2 main things you need to figure out. The numbers, which are basically, well, how much do you make? How much profit do you make? And you want basically you, as an agency, financially qualify them to see whether or not they're going to be able to afford your financial offer. And here's the thing. You all guys think that businesses make a shitload of money. I will tell you something. Most companies don't make money, right? Revenue always seems high, but profit is low as hell, right? That's what we also figure out with most, for example, roofing companies tend to have a profit margin of 5%, which is nothing at all, right? And that's basically the number one thing you have to get to is make sure the numbers are good. So coming back to the thing I've said before, you want to know who you work with because you want to know what is a good number, what is a bad number, right? And the second thing is pain, problem. What problem do they have? And everyone, please do not shrink away from this question. Ask it openly. What are the things you're struggling with? Before that, I was trying to speak around the corner and try to get them to tell me what the problem is. Hey, Max, what are your problems? What are the difficulties you're facing right now? Right? Sometimes I like to just get to start. It's like, well, what is the goal for this year? And then say, hey, cool, what are the struggles right now to get to that goal? Right? Ask that question openly. The biggest mistake people do is they have a script on a sales call. Do not use any script. It's better to have a shit conversation than to have a script, because people notice you have a script, that you don't remember anything they told you, and they're going to know they're going to be sold. Even if it's a framework, do not use scripts, because you're going to get very, very good at conversation. Like me, I'm just freestyling this, right? And the reason why is like I would probably perform worse with a script than I would perform in freestyle. So for some, it's more natural than for others. Now, the second thing is the pain, right? the second biggest issue, basically, mistake people do, is they ask super useless questions. Like, hey, John, what made you actually start your business 5 years ago? How is that relative to you helping me with AI solutions? You have to understand that the question, every time you ask a question, the prospect is asking in his head, why is he asking that question? And then if you cannot justify why you asked that question, if they would ask, hey, Max, why did you ask me that question? Hey, look, the reason I asked you why you started your business. Other question. Hey, Paul, what is actually your goal in terms of revenue for next year? Let's say 25-10. What did you ask that? Well, look, honestly, my goal and my only job is to help you to get there. So if we don't know in what direction we're sailing to, well, that's not going to end good, right? So this is super important. So the discovery phase, and I'm going to really focus on the discovery phase, and then we can go into some Q&A, objection handlings, and things like that. And I'm going to explain you how easy objection handling is actually, and how much worries people do without need. But discovery phase. Ask the questions, like Paul put into the chat, which is either numbers related or problem questions. Like, hey, Paul, what are the things you're struggling with? And you will tell me. It can be selling AI, it can be building AI, it can be getting appointments, it can make an offer, and you will tell me. And based on what you tell me, I'm going to be able to lead the call into the direction. Okay, you told me you have these issues building an offer or making a good offer. What is the difficulty exactly? Right? And then you will get into the pain. Well, I don't know how to make a good one. What makes you think so? Well, I've watched a bunch of courses, but I feel like all of them are shit. Okay. So, the number one important thing is you get to know the numbers and the pain. Example for the numbers. It's like, well, how much profit do you make? How much numbers, like you want to know the numbers. And you have done those two things. You don't need to keep a discovery phase for 10 minutes. After you've done those two things, you can go over into the actual page. Hey, look, Max, you told me a very, very good offer. Absolutely no worries. Look, I think I got a good solution for you. Can I show you my screen? I think I got something for you. Perfect. Cool. Then here's the thing where you want to have a sales presentation. And for all of you selling AI, you guys have to understand, for any service-based business, the presentation combined with you are the representative of the company. Like, they don't know what the AI solution actually does, right? So the difference is, if you're trying to sell a shoe online, what can you do? You can show the shoe, you can rip it apart. If you buy a shoe in person, you can actually put it on and things like that, which is very, very important to establish trust. So you want to get them a feeling of them knowing the product, right? What exactly do you do? So for that, you want to have a sales presentation. So the main thing of a sales presentation, I don't want you to make an 80 slide long presentation, 6 to 7 slide long presentation. So that means on the presentation, the first thing you do is you say what the goal is, and then you're going to go into what you actually do. And here again, you want to use language that they understand. Like, look, we're going to make sure that all the incoming calls you get are actually going to be answered, without you having to pick up the call once. Well, how do we do that? We're going to build an AI caller. So he's going to take all calls. You don't need to explain to him how you build it. Just say, you're going to do that, you're going to integrate into the system, blah, 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 blah. Right? So the main thing you want to have on presentation is pain. So number one thing is pain. So first you do the introduction. It's like, hey, this is our company. We do XYZ. Pain. Look, you told me this is the issues. So you recap the issues they told you. Hey, here's the benefit of us solving that issue. So here's the AI caller we're going to utilize to help you fix that solution. Next and last most important thing is show proof of it, or testimonials if you have that. If you don't have that, you need to leave it away. And then what you can do instead is do a demo. Right? If you have a demo, if you have, for example, you can record a call with yourself, actually testing out the bot. You want to show them as much as possible. Because here's the thing, they don't know anything about the product besides you telling them what it is. So if you can show them a demo, you can show them what it is for the people, amazing. But I don't mean share them the make.com integrations. I just mean show them what the results are. When you go buy a MacBook, what do you care about? What battery they've built in? Like which one, from a Chinese or from a Japanese company? No, you just care about how long it sticks, right? How long you can use it. Speak about the results. Speak about the results you're gonna get from this AI solution. So number one thing is pain, like Paul said it. Number two thing is the solution for them. What are the results and benefit they get from your solution? What pain are you solving? Right? Very, very sales in the most basic form is they have a problem right now, they have a desired outcome, and you're on the bridge between the both. You need to be the bridge. As simple as that. So that's why in the beginning of the call, you figure out exactly what their problems are, and then you tell them, you ask them where they want to be, and you tell them that with your solution, you're gonna be the bridge. That's the only way someone buys. So, if you have questions, I'm going to go through some questions now, and then if there, of course, I'm going to explain all of the questions the best way possible. So please pop up your question, and first person who asks the questions first comes serves. So, I know we have some question from before I did not answer. So, how long are your discovery calls? What information do you collect before? Good question, actually. I would say it depends a lot on what state you are right now. So if you're in the beginning and you don't have that many sales calls yet, you just want to collect information on the call itself and not before, right? Because that increases friction. It's like, why do you want to know how much money I made before we ever spoke to, right? I don't want to tell you how much I made, right? So you want to figure as much as possible on the call. Now, later, when you have a fully booked calendar, you can ask qualifying questions like, are you willing to invest in yourself, or are you willing to invest into AI solutions? Or for example, how much current revenue are you generating per month? Blah, 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 things like that, right? How long are the discovery calls? Discovery calls, either if you do it a full discovery call, you can do it up to 30 minutes. I don't like to do it any longer, because here's also the thing. The longer you do it, the more calls you have to do to close a single person, right? I like to prefer to speak to 10 different people a day than to only speak to 5, because I have to speak from the 5 from yesterday again, right? So just by doing a one call close is going to increase the amount of calls you can have. So if you do a one call close, the discovery phase should be about 15 minutes. If you do the discovery call, so a 2 call close, should not be longer than 30 minutes. And important on that call, if you do a 2 call close, you want to write down notes, because you will forget, it's guaranteed, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, please put on questions in the chat. What is the biggest problem you are facing? And regarding of selling AI, what do you want me to explain you? There are no stupid questions. The only stupid person is the person who doesn't ask their questions and doesn't get an answer. Okay. If we fix the scope of business we want to help with, and the type of companies, for example, small but non-industry is still viable, mainly at the beginning, time to assess with whom we prefer to work with. Tools, can you explain your question a bit more? Do you mean, do you know your service, but you don't know who to work with? Is that what you're asking?
Hello, can I speak?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, this is exactly. I am narrowing what I would like to offer, but I didn't decide with whom I wanna work. I mean, which industry.
Okay. Very good you ask. Now, usually I like to say, choose who you want to work with first, and then make you offer on what they need. Now, in your case, you already know what you want to offer. Then you need, and this is a painful work to do, I know, which is you need to go around in different industries, and primarily the way to find a good industry is if you have background. If you have background in medicine, if you have background in med spa, if you have background in real estate, or any kind of business, you want to utilize that. And there you will want to find out what problems they have. And if your offer can fix that problem. Most important thing, can you be the bridge? Can your offer be the bridge between their problems and their solution, where they want to be? So you need to find an industry with those problems. And the best way to do it is to look around, what industry are you curious about? What industry do you have past experience in? Go there and ask them what the problems are. Right? And here's a big issue. People assume it. Don't assume it. Ask them. Very important. Does that help?
You may laugh at me, but the thing is that I was previously working with very big companies, and you know how tough it can be to sell those companies, mainly if you came just as a starting point or single solopreneur or something like this. So I was working with big companies here in France in transportation sector and defense sector. So I cannot target, I'm not seeing targeting those people, because when I was working inside, I see that the processes is so huge, and they usually want to work with big companies too.
Okay, good. Like the question. In that case, you want to do it very basic. You want to see, and that's called niche selection. So the first thing you want to look at is, what industry are you passionate about? It doesn't really matter if you're not. It just helps because you're going to have to do a lot of research. And the primary thing you need to find out is if they have that problem, right? You can literally go out there on Facebook groups and ask in different groups, for example, Facebook group, who is struggling with that? Just doing market research. Who is struggling to get clients? Right? You can go in school communities and asking who is struggling with clients. Now, to make it very short, because we have a lot of questions, first, you want to make sure they have the problem you want to solve in your case. Now, the second thing, you want to make sure they have at least 10,000 businesses that you can reach out to. Right? The next important thing is they can afford your solution. If they're high ticket, they can probably afford all of your solution. If they are low ticket, most likely they can only afford low ticket solution, right? And then how easy is it to reach out to those people, right? Because like you said, big companies have money. There are a lot of them. Like you said, issues is hard to target them, right? So these are the most important things you need to make sure, right? And lastly, that they are actually willing to work with companies like you. Right, so you want to reach out to them, and really, like, the best thing you all can do, just speak to them. Pick up the phone or go to a local restaurant, ask if you want to work with a restaurant, call up your electrician, ask him, hey, I have a few questions for you. I might want to work with electricians in the United States. Just ask them. That's the best way to find out if they have this problem. Call up 5 businesses and you will know more than watching 10 hours of YouTube videos. So, next question. How to get better at sales when you're new? Well, the best thing you can do is, firstly, do sales. Logically. Well, practice is going to give you the best results. Now, here's the thing. I know there are a lot of people being advocate of doing role plays. So role plays is basically you doing for another person of the community, pretending to be a prospect and stuff like that. Why it doesn't work well is because we cannot imagine too well how to be a prospect. And I like to say, blind is leading blind, right? Not too well. Doesn't work well. So the best thing you want to do is you want to learn from people who are very good at sales, like the show in this coaching call. That's the best thing you can do, right? Take the knowledge and then really try to get sales. Now, the best practice you can literally have for sales is doing cold calls, because that's the most closest thing to sales, because you're going to learn how to not be nervous and things like that, right? Because you're going to realize nobody cares. Like, I could stutter throughout half of the call. There might be a bit more people leaving, so be it, right? So you're gonna first have to realize that nobody cares. Then, of course, you can go and learn in sales programs. Is also a good option as well, and get the sales tactics like literally on this coaching call, right? Of course, can help as well in different kinds of cases. So if you want to speak up to me, you can reach out to me. If not, I think Jake, I don't know what exactly Jack does, but he probably helps with that as well. So how do you price the project based on its complexity, and how much do you price same project based on client's revenue figure? Okay, I want to try to keep that question short, whether it's a very important question actually. Here's the thing, nobody cares if it took you 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day, a week, a month to build out a solution. They don't care. So it's a you problem. So that means you have to make it most efficient as possible for you to do the work. To give you a reference, for example, school, when I build a new school community, it doesn't cost school any work and still have to pay $100 per month, right? So don't make it based on how much it costs you in terms of complexity. Make it based on how much revenue or how much results you can generate then. So I have a very good equation that is a bit complicated, but I will, if Paul can put it again into the chat, which is the lifetime value of a client, right? This is how much they make based on client, times their profit margin, times their closing rate, times 10 to 30%. That 10 to 30% is how much you can charge per client, per appointment, right? If you do it per appointment. And then if you do want to have, let's say, a retainer, I'm absolutely not a fan of retainer. If you want to do a retainer, then you need to figure out, well, how many clients can I generate you, or how many appointments can I generate to you for the money, right? And I like to speak in appointments, right? If you want to speak in sales, just remove the closing rate from the equation, then you have it per client. Very important is that you want to make it based on return on investment. So that's why 10 to 30% of how much they make in terms of profit, right? So, and then you can say, hey, look, I know I can get you 20 clients next time. Of course, if you do have, for example, incoming calls, then you can do it again per appointment. Just do it per appointment. If you have chatbots, do it the same. Or you can do it per usage, but you want to do it, if possible, on a key metrics they can track. If you cannot do that, do it based on time. Well, we can save you 4 hours of time. How much do you usually make an hour, right? In terms of a project. Oh, as a roofer, you make $100 an hour. Well, I'm saving you $600 a day, but you now have to do this amount of calls, right? For example, you want to bring it back to return investment, even though your AI solution might not be able to produce clear return on investment. Try to find a way to saving time, saving costs, saving anything, or making more money, because you're not losing out on people who called and decide to go with another project, for example, like that. Try to make it based on how much money they will do. I've been asking on calls for timeline for projects, so sometimes I have to balance building multiple projects at once. Yeah, Max, you want to do it very simple. Don't ask them how much timeline you have to build a project. Just say, hey, look, it's going to take me right now I'm pretty busy, about 1 month to build it down to its best version. Is that cool with you? I can speed up the process a little bit, but of course that's going to have a cost increasement. I'll tell you about that point, everyone is going to say a month is fine, right? Because if you tell me you're going to charge more, because if you need it to get it done quicker, everyone is going to be willing to wait. And that's also, I think, usually AI is replacive, right? Like you replace someone with AI, right? Or you do AI as a new thing. So that means there can be a time delay. It's better to have it that way than them putting a short time frame on you. They will tell you as soon as possible, and then what do you do then, right? Now you have 6 projects at the same time to do in a week. Won't happen well. So, Zoltan, when you are selling a voice AI, what do you find sells better? One fixed price and settable all payments to their cards, make the account viable, etc. Fixed price and fixed monthly fee where you can as paying for the subscription. 1 monthly fee. Fixed price, fixed monthly fee where you as the provider is paying for the subscription. You do want to cover. There's multiple ways of doing it. I know one doing it a setup fee, which is for setting up the process, and then it's just per minute usage, and then it just charge up, right? They have markups, right? So it costs maybe, let's say $0.5 per minute, and you was just charge 1, for example. That works pretty well because they feel like there's no cost besides the initial setup fee, right? You say it's just you pay the minutes, so it's a one-time payment, and still they do pay you recurring, right? And if you do want to do a monthly fee, you need to be able to justify that, right? So that means like, why should I pay you every single month, right? If you do it at a low fee, you could just say for providing you that solution. But that's really where it comes into, I don't like retainers that much. I know it works better with AI than it works with, for example, DJ, because it's a new thing. So people are willing to pay on a subscription basis. So if I understand correctly, one discovery call 15, 30 minutes, free of charge. Then you have an audit, paid 1 hour example to help. No, I don't do any paid audits. I just do it. And here's the thing, is like, why should they pay for an audit? They don't know if you are really good or not, right? Yeah, I just sell them the service straight away, right? Either you do, and that's like, if you charge a lot of money, you just want to have more touch point, right? Because people don't like to be sold on the spot. If I spoke to you 3 times, you're more likely to close it if I spoke to you 1 time, right? I get to a point where I sell literally on 30-minute close, right? On 30 minutes, I sell a prospect. That's something I do in the framing part of the call. Say, look, I have about 30 minutes, so I want to stay as sharp as possible. Do you mind if we just go straight into it? I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions and then see if I can help you, blah, 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 right? So in the case, I like to just find a pain, offer them a solution, right? What is an audit, right? I don't like to give you my company information if I don't know if you're good or not, right? Because you don't do consulting, you do AI solutions. Paul, yeah, you can find me there. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. If you want to find my school community, Paul put it in the chat. Very nice from you, Paul. There you can learn more about sales, getting clients, is literally all I do all day. How much I charge per minute on average? Well, we do it actually in a very interesting way. We do it in a performance model, right? So it's like, well, per appointment, like I was saying, we use that equation. We take the hard cost. And then what we do is they say, hey, cool, look, basically what we're going to do is for every single appointment that we book you, or with the AI caller, inbound caller that we are able to book you, we're just going to want to have $30 per appointment. And now what do? We say, look, instead of paying someone $2,000 a month at front desk, which is going to cost you way more hours in management, way more hours than I need to do this, I need to do that, I need help with this. Look, we can book you a shitload of appointments per month for a fraction of the cost. All you gotta do is pay me per appointment. It's a very, very good model. So how do you track that? Is because we have access to the I don't know what example of calculation. Current weekly revenue, I don't have that much time to go through it. Could be interesting. So time to answer your questions, because we have access to the AI solution, which we tend to do also with Core Level, we know exactly how many appointments were booked or not. Yeah, and the most important thing is that we work with companies who actually care about growing, because that's something you guys have to understand is return on investment is a very, very important thing. You have to understand that sales and business in general is not egocentric. You cannot care about yourself. You have to care about the prospect. You have to care about the client. If you have, and that's the same I do with all of my students, right, in the coaching, and my agency as well. I care about the clients. And because of that, I make a shitload of money. So you have to understand it's not what you want. It's not that you want a retainer. It's not that you want less complexity. It's what does the client want and how can I deliver that on him for the least amount of money, for the least amount of time on your side. Right? Think that way. It's going to help you so much about sales. Right? No, it's not. It's for inbound agent. It works as well because, like I was saying, instead of them having to pay a front desk to do all of that work or some specific employee to take all of the calls, you say, hey, look, instead of paying $3,000 per month, we charge $30 per appointment as an example based on the calculation I gave you before. Look, we can book you 100 appointments per month for the same amount of price that you would have to pay that person. The difference is, though, we work 24/7. That lady not. That lady needs holidays. That lady has family problems. My AI bot doesn't. Right? And then justify it very, very simply. So we're hopping towards the last question. So whoever got the last, well, you can ask your questions now. Okay, so you handle the inbound calls and you book the appointments on GHL for them. They give you access. How do you state that to them if they already have a solution set up GHL or whatever? Meaning, okay. So the way we do it is actually, we basically have an integration with GHL. So the caller is based on GHL. So the incoming number that they have on the website, for example, is GHL, right? On Google, it's GHL. And basically on there, we have solution built out that way. And basically it just automatically puts into the pipeline and stuff like that. That's how I would build it. Because then you can literally have on a dashboard on Go High Level, you know exactly how much money you have made for every single client, how much they own you. Sorry, how many appointments you booked, how much money they own you. Right? So basically it's like through a webhook in Go High Level, the call is triggered with that being mag.com and stuff like that. Well, honestly, I'm not the builder. I have someone who builds it for me. I just sets it. So with voice bots, how do you balance performance with expectation? Trace, love that question. Love that question. Expectations. Biggest mistake I did in sales. Now, there's a personality type which some of you might have, which will tend to overpromise a lot. And what happens with that is you're going to lose a shitload of money like I did. Because you're going to tell them, look, the AI bot is going to be built in 2 weeks. It's going to be done. It's going to be ready. And then they test it out and then this doesn't work. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. Right? If you're new, it's normal that it doesn't work. And for all of you, if there's one thing I can recommend you, if you do not have clients yet, offer to work for free for 1 month. It will give you so much in return that no money can pay for it, because you're going to sign a client way, way faster, because you don't need to, like, look, I'm going to do all of that for you for free for a month. All I want at the end is a beautiful testimony if you love it, feedback if you hate it, right? And if you love it and you want to keep on going, we can figure out a deal then on how we could go financially about it. And this will help you decrease the friction on that sales call. And that's the most important thing, right? Because once you have a client, you can test it out, and then you're going to be able to remove all of the flaws you have in the beginning. Now, to come back to expectations, you want to set as low expectations as possible. Look, if it takes you 1 week to build out the bot, just say it's going to take you 2. If you finish in 7 days, it's better to over deliver and under promise than the other way around, because the other way around is never good, right? So, Paul, you can integrate Go Level with other solutions too. So if they have, yeah, exactly. Zoltan, then you say, well, I'm going to keep on updating it, building it over the period of time. It's going to get better, better, better. So that's why we have a management fee, which costs $1,000 per month. If you can justify, if people can justify that expense, right? You can. And why? Well, because we're going to make it better and blah, 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 blah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are running out of time. I hope you loved it, right? Unfortunately, if you have more questions, you can reach out to me on school. I'm not in the Paul's community though, but if you have more questions, you can either reach out to me on school, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. I'm less active on LinkedIn, but more active on school. So still, if you want to know more about what I do, here is my LinkedIn as well. I don't know if Max is going to post a recording or not, but I appreciate you joining me today. I hope you could take some amazing value from it. If you did, love it. Yeah, let me know if the feedback, would appreciate it. And yeah.
Thanks, Leo.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, anyone, have an amazing time, and speak to you soon. Have a good time. Bye-bye.